Welcome to NFL Nexus. We are diving into a reality today that most fans never actually get to see. We always hear about the offseason, but let me tell you something right now. The concept of a relaxing offseason is a complete myth. In the silent, empty shadows of these massive, multi-billion-dollar stadiums all across the country, careers are actively being forged, and in many, many cases, they are being permanently destroyed. The physical toll of these hidden months is absolutely brutal. You have bodies being pushed to the absolute breaking point in the sweltering, empty heat, all for the microscopic chance of just surviving another week on a roster. Today, we are meticulously dissecting this unforgiving, cutthroat reality of the NFL summer. We're putting a massive, undeniable spotlight on the high-stakes gambles happening right now in Buffalo, and we're looking at the seismic, landscape-altering shifts across the entire league. But before we step on the field and really get into the microscopic details of these intense roster wars, your support is absolutely crucial to what we do. Your channel is called NFL Nexus. Subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and comment on what you thought down below. And please, take that extra step and support the channel by becoming a channel member. Your membership is literally what allows us to bring you these incredibly detailed premium documentary explainers. So let's not waste any more time. Let's begin the breakdown. Everything changed in a matter of seconds. Minicamps are officially closed. The mandatory workouts that completely dominated the month of June, they are over. The media cameras are gone. The relaxed vibes of OTAs are a thing of the past. But the pressure has literally never been higher than it is at this exact second. So the question becomes, who actually survives the summer? It is the multi-million-dollar question that is echoing through the echoing halls of every single facility in the National Football League right now. It's the kind of question that keeps decorated veteran multimillionaires awake at night staring at the ceiling, and it pushes hungry, undrafted rookies to their absolute physical and mental limits. The safety net is gone. Section 1, the unforgiving offseason. The clock is ticking. Okay, let's really dive into this, because the names on this list are going to genuinely shock you. The ticking clock of the NFL does not care about your draft pedigree. It doesn't care about your past accolades, your jersey sales, or what you did 3 years ago. Late July is approaching incredibly fast. We are hurling toward that brutal July 29th deadline, when the incredibly harsh realities of the 53-man roster cutdown completely tear apart the 90-man offseason dream. And let's be totally clear, this isn't just about young, undrafted guys trying to make a name on the practice squad. This is a meticulous, ruthless, cold-blooded numbers game. Established players are cast aside every single day to save salary cap space or to simply make room for a cheaper, younger replacement who can do 80% of the job for 20% of the price. Every single practice rep, every passing interaction in the meeting room, every single special teams drill, it could literally be their last moment in the NFL. These are established stars walking on razor-thin ice. Just look at Mecole Hardman, Jr. over in Buffalo. He joined the Bills strictly as a veteran presence and a dynamic return specialist, but a devastating calf injury completely derailed his 2025 season. Now, his only viable path to a roster spot lies out there on special teams, fighting tooth and nail against younger, vastly cheaper options in a highly competitive receiver room. If he doesn't step onto that field and show explosive, undeniably elite burst immediately, he is gone, no hesitation. Or take a look at Mason Rudolph in Pittsburgh. He's been a reliable veteran backup there for years. He knows the system. But suddenly, the emergence of second-year quarterback Will Howard, a kid who has been spoken incredibly highly of by none other than Aaron Rodgers, along with draftee Drew Aller, has complicated absolutely everything. If the Steelers decide to only keep 3 quarterbacks, Rudolph's $2.8 million cap hit makes him the glaringly obvious odd man out. Then we shift over to Kelee Ringo in Philadelphia, a 2023 fourth-round pick. He was fully expected to step up and start, but he simply hasn't taken that necessary next step in his coverage technique. The Eagles didn't wait around. They brought in veteran Jonathan Jones, plus a swarm of hungry young corners like Jacorian Bennett, Mac McWilliams, and Brandon Johnson. Ringo is rapidly getting buried deep, deep on that depth chart. But perhaps the most dramatic, tense situation in the entire league is Rashee Rice in Kansas City. Now, he remains their WR1 on paper, absolutely, but the off-field baggage has become incredibly heavy. We're talking about a player who served a 30-day jail sentence for violating probation, underwent a knee cleanup procedure while he was actually incarcerated, and missed all of the crucial OTAs. And while he was gone, Xavier Worthy, Tyquan Thornton, and Jalen Royals have been surging right behind him. A surprise cut or a shocking trade just to completely clear out the distraction before August? It really isn't impossible. And finally, we have to talk about Alvin Kamara in New Orleans. A legendary player, but he just posted career lows in rushing and receiving yards in 2025.
And more importantly, he carries a massive, completely unsustainable cap hit that is pushing over $29 million. $29 million! The Saints already have Travis Etienne Jr. and Kendry Miller waiting in the wings, fully capable of taking the load. By making Kamara a post-June 1 cut, the Saints could save significant franchise-altering money and spread that dead cap hit over 2 seasons. It's not personal, it's pure, cold calculus.
Section 2, on the chopping block, Buffalo's high-stakes gamble.
That cold calculus we just talked about brings us directly to our primary focus for today's explainer. The Buffalo Bills officially completed their offseason workout program on June 11th, but General Manager Brandon Beane and Offensive Coordinator Joe Brady, they have some absolutely agonizing, franchise-altering decisions looming over their heads right now before they head down to St. John Fisher University for training camp. The pressure in Western New York right now is entirely suffocating. And loyalty? Loyalty means very, very little when the roster math simply doesn't add up. I want you to look at the brutal reality currently facing Keon Coleman. Is his time in Buffalo already running out? Think about this. He is just 23 years old. After Brandon Beane and Joe Brady each went out of their way to give Coleman their public seal of approval this offseason, it really seemed like the front office was just completely refusing to admit their massive failure in drafting him. But the writing is clearly, undeniably on the wall. While an outright cut before Week 1 seems highly doubtful, mostly due to the massive dead cap implications of his rookie deal, the whispers coming out of camp are getting louder. They suggest the Bills might cut their losses entirely through a trade. There is a very real, rapidly developing scenario where Coleman is dealt to a receiver-needy team, a team like the Tennessee Titans, for example. And what would Buffalo get in return? Probably nothing more than a conditional 4th or 5th round pick. That's it. Buffalo's front office might as well get something for him right now before his value plummets to the point of becoming a completely worthless commodity in this league. It is a truly staggering, mind-boggling fall from grace for a player who was supposed to be the absolute future of this franchise's passing attack.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates just how ruthless this business truly is, literally all the way down to the final, supposedly least glamorous roster spots. We are looking at a head-to-head battle for the punter position, but you need to understand, this perfectly represents the entire NFL ecosystem. On one side of the ring, you have Mitch Wishnowsky. He's an aging veteran at 34 years old who did reasonably well holding for kicker Tyler Bass last year. But let's be completely honest with ourselves, he wasn't exactly the second coming of Brian Moorman during his lone season in Buffalo. He averaged just 41.2 net yards per punt. In today's NFL, that's just not going to cut it. And on the other side, you have Tawny Doman Jr., a 23-year-old, 2026 7th-round draft pick with an incredibly powerful, absolute cannon of a leg. During his time at Michigan, Doman posted massive numbers. He was consistently hitting 50-plus yard bombs with a hang time hovering right around 4.8 seconds. That is elite, game-changing production. The Bills are desperately seeking a long-term, highly cost-controlled answer at this exact position. Wishnowsky is in a position where he needs to have the training camp of his absolute life. We're talking pinning balls inside the 10-yard line with robotic, flawless consistency just to fend off the rookie's raw, undeniable power. In the NFL, the man drafted to replace you isn't a hypothetical threat. He is already standing in the exact same room, wearing your team's colors, actively trying to take your livelihood.
Section 3. The AFC East Threat, a two-horse race. But all these intense internal battles and ruthless roster cuts happening in Buffalo right now, they are merely the preparation phase for a much larger, much more violent war that is looming on the horizon. While the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets are certainly in the mix, the detailed composite polling of experts and analysts tells a completely different, very clear story about this division. The AFC East is on a direct, unavoidable collision course between two fundamentally opposed forces. It is the reigning division champion New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. Everything else you hear, it's just noise. It is the classic, age-old scenario, the unstoppable force meeting the completely immovable object. We are looking at Buffalo's undisputed, incredibly explosive offensive firepower going head-to-head against New England's top-ranked, ironclad defensive dominance. When site representatives and scouts ranked each team in terms of raw talent at individual position groups, the Bills finished just 2 mere points behind the Patriots in the overall composite results. That is how incredibly tight this race is. Every single agonizing roster cut, every intense training camp battle we just discussed, it all leads directly to this very specific, incredibly high-stakes matchup. The margin for error here is absolute zero. One mistake, one bad roster decision in July, and the division is lost in December. Let's really break down this absolute juggernaut of an offense that Buffalo has assembled. They are the top-ranked AFC East team in 3 out of 5 offensive position groups. At the very top, you have the unanimous #1 quarterback in the entire division, 5-time NFL MVP finalist Josh Allen.
Even with a highly touted prospect like Drake May emerging as a legitimate, serious threat over New England, Allen is the ultimate great equalizer. He's the guy uniquely capable of putting an entire franchise squarely on his back and carrying them through a shootout. Then you look at their tight ends, unanimous number one. They can stress literally any defensive scheme imaginable by deploying Dawson Knox as a traditional physical threat while using the elite pass-catching ability of Dalton Kincaid to stretch the seam and dropping blocking extraordinaire Jackson Hausen to seal the edge. Other than maybe Hunter Henry over New England, no one in the division even touches this group. How about the running back room? Number one, you have the reigning NFL rushing champion James Cook leading the charge with his explosive, defense-breaking lateral agility. You have Ray Davis acting as a capable, highly punishing bruiser right between the tackles, and then there's Ty Johnson. Josh Allen himself explicitly went out of his way to call Johnson the best third down back in the NFL, due to his unparalleled blitz pickup abilities. And finally, the trenches. Buffalo has sustained unbelievable, highly expensive success here. Left tackle Deion Dawkins absolutely towers over New England's fading prospect Will Campbell in every pass block win rate metric. Spencer Brown at right tackle handily beats out a 35-year-old Morgan Moses. And Osiris Torrance at right guard, he is a far better natural fit for his position than the Patriots' converted tackle Mike Onwenu. Make no mistake about it, this offense is meticulously, expensively built to conquer anything in its path. But now, let's move to the other side of the ball. Let's see how this matchup builds the tension. Because New England is waiting, and they are absolutely terrifying. While Buffalo failed to top any of the 5 defensive position group rankings, New England finished first in 3 of them. Their interior defensive line, unanimous number 1. They are capable of completely collapsing the pocket in milliseconds. Their cornerbacks, unanimous number 1, playing a suffocating, incredibly aggressive brand of man coverage. And they boast the absolute top safety duo in the division with Craig Woodson and the aging but still remarkably brilliant Kevin Byard. This duo completely outranks Buffalo's rising tandem of Cole Bishop and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, as well as the Jets' highly touted pair of Andrew Sisko and Minkah Fitzpatrick. Furthermore, New England features relentless game-wrecking edge rushers in Harold Landry and Draymond Jones. Do you want to know what those two did in 2025? They combined for a staggering 15.5 sacks and 42 quarterback pressures. The Bills recognized this exact threat. They tried to counter it by bringing in 2-time Pro Bowler Bradley Chubb and drafting TJ Parker at 35 overall, hoping to pair them with Greg Rousseau and Mike Donna. But New England's defense is a proven, battle-tested, highly cohesive unit. To beat them, Buffalo's entirely newly formed edge rushing group has to be absolutely flawless right out of the gate. There is no time to gel.
Section 4. The Heart of Buffalo, a Legacy of Resilience. But listen, statistics, draft capital, and positional depth charts, they don't tell the whole story. Football isn't played on a spreadsheet. It's played with blood, sweat, and an absolutely unbreakable spirit. To truly understand the immense weight of what is at stake for the Buffalo Bills in 2026, we have to transition away from the cold analytics for a moment. We have to look at the very soul of this franchise. There is no single figure in history who embodies that gritty, working-class, Western New York resilience more than Hall of Fame quarterback Jim Kelly. He produced some of the greatest, most electrifying highlights, and he weathered the biggest, most agonizing heartbreaks in franchise history. In 2019, he beat cancer, but earlier this year, the 66-year-old legend suffered a stroke. I want you to really listen to his words from a recent ESPN update. He said, "I had a little setback about a month and a half ago, but right now I feel good. Eyesight's not great, my hearing still sucks, but that's part of life." That quote right there, that is the exact essence of Buffalo. Unbreakable toughness, absolutely no complaints. You take a massive, life-altering hit, you get right back up, and you keep fighting. That is the exact standard the current 2026 roster is being held to. And Jim Kelly's fight right now isn't just about his own personal survival. It's about witnessing the next great chapter of Bills history unfold before his eyes. He is fighting every single day through grueling physical therapy to be there for the deeply emotional opening of the new Highmark Stadium this fall. He said, "It's going to be special, not only for the players, but imagine the fans in there, how crazy and wild and loud they're going to get. And from what I've been told, it's going to be unbelievable. But I don't expect anything less." Can you feel the heavy, undeniable emotional weight of those words? The current players lacing up their cleats in late July aren't just fighting for a roster spot or a multi-million-dollar paycheck. They are fighting to honor a towering legacy, right in front of the man who literally built it, inside a brand new stadium that represents a completely new era for the entire city. Section 5. The Ultimate Scale. Stakes bigger than football. This brings us to the ultimate scale of the 2026 season. These stakes are undeniably bigger than football. When a young player like Tommy Doman Jr. punts a ball in a seemingly meaningless Tuesday practice, or Keon Coleman tries desperately to secure a roster spot on a random Thursday, they aren't just existing in a vacuum. They are critical pieces on a massive, historic chessboard. The consequences of their individual success or failure will ripple through the history of this proud city, directly impacting their collective ability to finally overthrow the New England Patriots. The path laid out before them is entirely uncompromising. Late July, rookies and veterans report to St. John Fisher University for training camp. It's the grilling heat, the sheer physical exhaustion, the ultimate proving ground. Then comes August, the brutal, unavoidable reality of the 53-man roster cutdown. Lifelong dreams will be unceremoniously shattered in a quiet, windowless front office meeting room. And finally, fall 2026, the highly anticipated, deeply emotional opening of the new Highmark Stadium. The timeline is rigidly, permanently set. The clock is entirely unforgiving. Time is rapidly running out for every single man in that locker room to prove he truly, undeniably belongs.
Section 6. The Unfinished Business.
All the off-season noise, the voluntary workouts, the endless media speculation, all of it fades away into complete and utter silence when the pads finally come on. What remains is a franchise that is desperately starved for glory, standing on the absolute precipice of a monumental, era-defining season. The incoming cuts will be incredibly cold. The impending trades will be ruthless, but it is all in service of one singular, obsessive, all-consuming goal. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. We know the intense pressure these guys are under. We know the deep, incredibly painful history of this franchise. We know the terrifying, heavily armed enemies waiting for them in the division. Will Buffalo's offensive supremacy and unbreakable spirit actually be enough to survive the brutal 2026 season? Can Josh Allen and this meticulously crafted yet deeply pressured roster overcome the New England defensive iron wall? Can they navigate a terrifying offseason of high-stakes roster cuts? And finally, at long last, deliver the ultimate glory that Jim Kelly and the city of Buffalo have bled for? The answer is coming, and trust me, it will be completely unforgiving. The story of the 2026 NFL season is just beginning to unfold. To ensure you do not miss a single second of this cinematic journey through the trenches of the league, you need to join our community right now. Your channel is called NFL Nexus. Subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and comment on what you thought down below. Tell us who you think survives the chopping block and who goes home empty-handed. And to take it a step further and really become part of the team, support the channel by becoming a channel member today. Your membership directly funds these extensive, deep dive explainers. Thank you for watching NFL Nexus. We will see you on the next one.